Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Robinhood Capitalists episode 8. We're on 8 now, my number. So this should be a special episode, hopefully.
We're about to run
I
out of fingers. We won't be able to do that much longer.
We won't. Maybe we'll start using toes. Or maybe we can do it as a team. I'll you, and then
We'll
we
figure
got
it out.
20 there. We got 20. So yeah, we still have some time. um, but again, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for joining us weekly. What an amazing show it was Tuesday. Again, I'm your host, DJ Flores. With me, as always, my co-host, Coach Stacey B. And
Good morning.
last Tuesday's show was amazing. Shout out to Korin Long for joining us and giving us her time. No, she's busy with her growth, and again, give her a special shout out on the 22nd. It's 1 year for her being a franchisee with Zoomin Groomin, which is just amazing with her journey, her story. So hopefully you all really enjoyed that. We are going to get deeper into kind of her journey a little. We're going to highlight some things of Zoomin Grooming, and then really get more into breaking out of your comfort zone. The main intention for this show is we really want you all to be aware first what that comfort zone might feel like, or how do you know if you're in a comfort zone. And then we also really just want to share some tips and ideas through myself, through Coach, and some of the things that even Corinne shared to help you break free of that comfort zone. Um, success doesn't grow in the comfort zone. I can promise you that. So you do have to be comfortable with getting uncomfortable. Coach, any words before we get this started?
Let's get it started. This is going to be fun. It's a great conversation, great topic, and something I've been digging in with some of my clients this week already. So this will be fun.
Yes. Well, let's get it started.
You get one heartbeat song. Take it seriously. This is your masterpiece. Don't forget to dream and taste the colors in the air you breathe. It's your masterpiece. Go ahead and feel it all. Don't stop till it is beautiful. Don't stop till it is beautiful. Don't stop till it is beautiful.
We do have some good morning out there, so I'm going to throw those up first. Good morning, as always, Logistics Monk. Shout out, Ryan. Good to see you, man. We got Ashley. Thank you, Ashley, for joining us this morning. Good morning. Happy Tuesday, or happy Thursday. Tuesday. I'm going back to Tuesday already. That's how much I love what we do. Let's go back there. Tuesday was amazing. That show was amazing. And good morning, Tanya. Thank you for joining us. And blessed Thursday. Absolutely. Coach, I didn't even know you've been working with some recent clients on this. So this is going to be a really fun topic.
Yeah.
This has been something, comfort zones, being uncomfortable, challenging, has been a challenge of myself my whole life. As a kid, I was scared to death of everything. Oldest of four. I didn't swim. I learned and I think it's an older sibling. So shout out to anybody who's used this tactic as well, or learned this. But you kind of test the dangerous things with your younger siblings first, and I was really good at that. And so I was very good at convincing them to try it, and I wouldn't try anything. Scared to death of everything. Even just asking simple questions because I was afraid that people would yell or get mad or upset, or I just was afraid. And so to go and break out of that took a lot. It took a lot. 25 years of commissioned sales, to be truthful. But it did. It took a lot. And so this topic is huge for me. This has a lot to do with it. Belief. Believe Believing in yourself is the first thing, and that's where I struggled. I still struggle. I'm sure people close to me. I just had a mentor of mine say that. believe in yourself already. I'm like, I'm trying. I don't feel like it, but it is a hard thing. And so we understand, and that's why we really want to deep dive into this subject. So, Coach, let's get with, I guess, what are some of the things before we even kind of go into signs and go into the video and some of the stuff we wanted to talk about further? What are some of the things that your clients are hitting you with that, or those uncomfortable zones that they're trying to push against?
Yeah, this is you're not unique. I hate to tell you, in case you were feeling special. This is a challenge for everybody. We all are so we've our brains don't fully form, until a lot later in life. And as a matter of fact, the conscious part of the brain doesn't really come into about age 6 or 7. And everything that happens in those first 6 or 7 years of life is just hard coding who you're going to become. And that the way we deal with the comfort zone, the way we deal with stress, the way we deal with anything, a lot of that is hardwired from that very early age. And so it's incredibly hard for some of us to break out. Now, the thing we have to focus on, nobody likes change, right? So, the old saying is the only humans that like change are wet babies. That's but nobody likes change. And so if you're going to get out of the comfort zone, it's going to force you to change. You're going to have to do things you've never done before, be with people maybe you've never been with before, become something you've never become before. And that's all pretty scary. And so there's David Gleischer came out with this formula for change. And he said there's 3 very important things. Number 1, there has to be a certain level of dissatisfaction. So in the formula, that's D, dissatisfaction. You've got to be just dissatisfied to the point that you say, man, I've got to do something different. For a lot of us, we don't get that level of dissatisfaction until it gets so bad. You have one of those moments where it's a never again moment, which I've had a few of those in my life, that really force you to change. What I would challenge you to do is look for those areas where maybe you're not as happy as you think you could be, and dwell, not maybe dwell is not the right word, but kind of dig into that dissatisfaction so that you can feel the emotion that there is a better way. Because the next step is you take the dissatisfaction, you multiply it by a vision for a better future. So you've got to understand that there is something better out there for me. And when we get too deep in the comfort zone, especially if you combine that with that lack of belief in oneself, that's when you start to wallow in self-pity and you don't see a way out. So there has to be a vision that, yes, there is a better future. And you have to truly believe that you are worthy of that better future, regardless of where you are in your life right now. And you are, whatever anybody else is telling you, I promise you, you are. We are all put here to be special. And I want you to go out and be special. So you get that dissatisfaction, you multiply it times the better vision for the future. That's the V. And then there's a third step here. You have to multiply that by some action. If you don't do anything, nothing's going to change. There has to be first steps. So D times V times F, if you combine those, dissatisfaction, a better vision for the future, and actually doing something, you'll overcome that resistance to change and you'll break out of your comfort zone. And it's worth every pain point. It's worth every filter. It's worth every slap across the jaw. It's worth it all, because all of the good stuff is outside of the comfort zone.
Oh, can we just end the show now, Coach Stacey B? Listen, if you guys didn't, if you, there was so much gold there. That will be. We obviously have to cut that. So trying to make some. So I know where that point's at. But anybody mark that was amazing, and this is why we have him on here, guys. Coach Stacey. Again, this is what he does. He helps small business owners break out of those comfort zones. I have
You know what? It doesn't. And it's not even just individually that we live in the comfort zones. If you're in a huge corporation, I promise you, your department is probably in the departmental comfort zone. The organization is in the organizational comfort zone. There's things that have been going on within your company right now, regardless of its size, that have been going on for a year or 2 or 3 that haven't been challenged. Is it still the right way to do this? And I want you to challenge that comfort zone across the board, not just in our personal lives, but all across the board. Challenge it at your church. If the church services haven't changed and the outreach hasn't changed, challenge it. What can we do? Because we're going to get out of that comfort zone. And this again is what I work with a lot of folks on. I was in Nashville, and I had DJ. I told you this in the text, but I had one of those days on Tuesday where everything that could go right went right. It was fantastic. I had very limited time windows, and number one, I'm a talker, so ending my session on time is amazing. That was kind of rare, but I did my closing remarks on time. The Uber was on time. The traffic was light. The airport line was light. I was able to find a quiet place in a busy airport in Nashville. And when we were done, I had 10-minute window and nobody was in line at the Smash Burger. And so that was cool. I had 10 minutes to eat and I'd walk straight on the plane. Everything to the moment. So we've talked in that episode, I think it was last Thursday, about what we put out to the universe, we get back in kind. I think that day and a half spent with a group of very positive people made my Tuesday go a whole lot better. But this was a topic that we talked about during that day and a half, is how do we get out of our individual and organizational based comfort zones.
So the reason this came up, guys, and thank you for the comments, man. It is blowing up out there. So thank you all. This is so, and I will throw those up. But I do have a video I want to share, and then we're going to touch on kind of some of the things that Korin talked about and her getting out of her comfort zone. Because again, if y'all missed Tuesday, you got to check it out. I mean, okay, was I right, Coach? She is super impressive, especially first business. Never doing this before like that. It's something else.
Yeah, and for women in business, I think it's a powerful message too. And the when you look at franchising statistics, still the majority of franchisees are men. However, the fastest growing segment is women that are taking these leadership roles and becoming franchisees. So if you're out there and you're looking for that change like she was, it's a great opportunity to look at franchising.
Agreed. Let's throw this video up. So this is Steve Harvey. I love Steve. He has so many great videos. So he has a few YouTube channels. Check them out. Again, these are videos I go to if I'm kind of in my head or in that rut or in that comfort zone that we'll get deeper into. But check out Steve, and we'll be right back.
Show you this. We all live inside a bubble, right? This is our world. We go to church here. We work over here. We go get our coffee over here. We go to this park over here. We usually go over here to, hang out with friends. This is our favorite club. This is our world. This is our favorite spot on the beach. We all live in this bubble. What you got to do to get the life that God wants you to have, you got to put more air in your bubble. You got to blow your bubble up. Expand yourself. Take yourself out your comfort zone. Do not live in your bubble. Put some more air in your bubble. If you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you will fail. You will fail in your comfort zone. Success is not a comfortable procedure. It is a very uncomfortable thing to attempt. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful. Start putting some pressure on. Put some pressure on yourself. Get out here and get about it. Look, I'd love to sugarcoat this thing for you. I'd love to tell you, look, you can go out here and get rich, do a couple of things. That ain't happening. You got to get real doggish. You got to get downright funky if you want to make it. Now, like I was telling you before, if you want to be ordinary, you ain't even got to listen to me. Just go on about your business. If you think ordinary is cool, ain't no problem. It's some really, really wonderful, ordinary people. But if you are sitting in this room and you have extraordinary aspirations, then you're going to have to do extra. You put extra on top of ordinary, and you come up with extraordinary. It's no other way. I'm sorry. But here's the fact. All of you have extraordinary capabilities. All of you. You have to decide if you are willing to do the things to put you in that category. Rich people don't sleep 8 hours a day. That's a third of your life. It ain't but 24 hours in a day. You cannot be sleep 8 hours a day. You can't live in LA and wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's 11 o'clock on the East Coast. The stock market been open 2 hours. They already making decisions about your life, and your ass was asleep. The Bible says, he who loves to sleep and the folding of hands, poverty will set upon you like a thief in the night. He who loves to sleep and the folding of hands, poverty will set upon you like a thief in the night. I'm going to ask you one question, I'm going to go. How many of you in here know somebody who loves to sleep? Who knows somebody that loves to sleep? Let me ask you something. Ain't they po?
It doesn't get much better than that, does it? I mean, the
That's strong.
the power in his words, it hits me every time I listen to it. But it is it's so many of the, he quoted some things from the Bible, and one thing John likes to talk about is the parable of talents. And we're all given, you talked about it, we're given a gift. We have a gift. Every single one of us has some gift. And like Steve said in there, we're not trying to push everybody. You want to be ordinary, listen, that okay with that. Most of the people watching this though are, you're not watching this right now. We're not doing this right now because we want to be ordinary. We do want to give. We want to unlock that gift, that talent, that secret gift that we're supposed to give. There is a gift that we all have that really is for others, and when you figure that out, that's where the power comes from. Signs of comfort zone for me. These were certain things that I look for in the comfort zone. How do I know that I'm in the comfort zone? And we'll break these down, Coach. But so not feeling challenged.
Yeah,
Not
that's
go ahead.
now. Do you want to go one at a time or
Yeah,
go
yeah,
through all?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so the not feeling challenged, that's a little bit of what Steve Harvey was talking about right there. And in the book, the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, John Maxwell has the law of the rubber band, and basically what he says is the rubber band is pretty much useless unless it's stretched. And the analogy is that as leaders, if we want to be better for everyone around us, we have to stretch. We have to stretch ourselves, and that means we have to challenge ourselves. And one of our principles at Liberty when John was there as founder was challenge yourself, challenge each other, and break boundaries. We should always be challenging to do more. I firmly believe it doesn't matter where you are in your life right now. And some of you listening may think, man, I'm at the lowest I've ever been. There's no way out. Some of you may be sitting on top of the world and you think I'm the best I've ever been right now. It's not going to get any better. In both of those situations, it will get better. It can get better if you choose to be better. So
And
you've
if you,
got to challenge yourself.
yes, yes, and you said something I want to go back to because I heard a quote in another video. Again, this is all I do is listen to these videos, y'all. I'm telling you. But it another video he said, and I want to say it was Alan Watts, but he said, "Faith without action is dead." And you talked about action, and I think we get stuck there. I am an over analyzer, so I will deep research and paralysis by analysis, and I'm soaking in so much and not working on one thing and focusing on one thing. And I think we all get stuck there. That's one of the things where I really get stuck. And that quote was like, wow, yes, that is so true. Like, I could believe this is going to work and this idea is going to work and that idea is going to work. But if I don't try any of them, or I don't actually put it into action and really go through the process and really test it, and it's even, checking and making sure, is it working? Is it not working? And really giving it that full test. But testing one thing, that was my biggest struggle. And so that quote, I see you. Go ahead. I
Yeah,
know you
yeah.
got something good with
Oh
that.
man, yeah, you're lighting fires over here with everything you're saying. The it is so tough because when you have that feeling of I've got to do the research, a lot of times what that means is that's just part of your behavior style. That's part of who you are. It's ingrained in you that you want to know a lot of details. You want to get all the facts, and you'll research, and feel like you're being very productive, but you're not. You're just being busy because you're not taking the step that comes after what you need to do. And so we have to become more decisive and take more actions. And Paul Martinelli is one of my mentors. He founded the John Maxwell team back in 2011, I guess it was. But he hits really hard on this. He goes, pick something where you know you're going to fail, and do it this week. because if you don't learn to experience and accept and be willing to take on failure, you're never going to grow. Because the greatest learning model of all of humanity is you do something, you fail, you learn and improve, and then you do it again. It's how you learn to walk, ride a bike, and all the things that we do.
Yes.
But you have to be willing to take that first step of testing it and doing something. So the fact that you said that one of the ways that you have to get out is to go from research to actually doing something. Another thing we have to do is get out of this mindset that it has to be, everything's got to be just right. I've got to know all 50 steps of the plan. I've got to have the timing just exactly perfect. None of that's ever going to happen. And so what we have to do,
Never.
and how do you fix something if you've got no result on which to base your learning? So do something, and then you'll look at the result, make it better, do it again. It's a process, ongoing, never ending. And you don't motivate your way into action, you act your way into being motivated. So do something.
Yes. Now, I got to go into a story that I heard that nails with what you shared. So Jesse Itzler, he shares a story of when he started his private jet company. And this story blew me away, but it's talking about, like you said, he overplanned. He had this planned, and he was going to go to this convention, and he's going to pass out the information, and he's going to do this. And then here's what's crazy. He has all of this planned. He gets to the convention, and I forget exactly what happened, but he forgot some basic thing and couldn't get into the convention. So he had everything planned to promote this business, couldn't get into the convention. So instead, what he did was he found a coffee shop that all of the people from the convention were going to, had a table set up, bought all the bagels in the coffee shop so that every time that somebody came from the convention, they said they're out of bagels, but you could go to him and get one from him. And that is how he did it. But it's out of the box. Like, it's planning. You don't really know. You can't plan everything. And typically, I think it's, again, I think saying you tell God your plans and he'll laugh or something like that. But I mean, that's the truth. Like, you can't plan everything out. There always is going to be variables that you're just not going to expect.
Yeah, and
And so,
Eisenhower, because he's talking about the fog of war and how things go in battle, but he said plans are generally irrelevant, but planning is invaluable. So the time you spend planning is really important, but just understand the plan rarely, if ever, is going to go to plan.
exactly.
You're going to get the results. You're going to change it and try again.
Exactly. And so back to Korin. She obviously military background, 13 years intelligence analyst, then goes to nursing to follow what, again, the comfort zone, and the idea was for certain people. She was in that zone, and I don't like this. This is not comfortable. She felt the discomfort. Or my next thing that I really look for, making progress. So how do you know you're in a comfort zone? You're not making progress. There is no progress. You're just existing. You're in what feels like Groundhog Day. There's no progress to somewhere different. There is no mountain you're climbing. You're just there. No progress to me is very discomforting. I get very uncomfortable there. And so, Coach, you want to go into progress a little bit?
Well, one of the keys to knowing whether you're progressing or not is having clarity on what it is, where it is you're really trying to go, and knowing really clear on who you are and who you want to become and all of those things. Otherwise, and what most of us do is we don't spend that time in thinking about what is the ideal life for DJ 5 years down the road. Because if you can paint me a picture of your ideal self in the future, I can help you chart a course to get there. But if we don't take the time to paint that picture first, then we can't measure the progress, and you are just kind of stuck. And that's when you're in the rut and doing the same thing, sitting in the same place, and you're not growing at all. And I'm a very goal-oriented person. I teach goals and goal-setting classes a lot, but being goal-focused is not the key. The key is being growth-focused. If you focus only on goals, you might or might not get it. But if you focus on growth, then you're going to get a whole lot more, because the purpose of the goal isn't necessarily to get the goal. The purpose of the goal is to become the person that could get the goal. It's what we become, not what we get. And so in order to measure that progress, we have to do a lot of work on getting the clarity of who we are and who we want to become. And then we can start looking at where we're progressing or not. Most people won't even know if they're progressing or not. They're just in that rut, and it's just another day. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm living the life I'm supposed to live. And you just get caught up in that mindset, and it's a dangerous place to be.
I've never heard it say that way, and I love that you said it that way. Goals. So obviously we have to have a target. One of the examples, if you're going to throw a dart, but you don't know where you're aiming, where you're throwing the dart to. And so you have to know where you're actually going to. But where you said about goals and growth, that I think if we can do that mind shift change to growth, then our goals are there and we have a target. But then even if we lose, even if we fail, we make a mistake, there's growth. We succeed, there's growth. So either way, we're going to find growth somewhere, just like you talked about with a baby. We don't, if the first time a baby was learning to walk, they fell, maybe they hurt themselves, or maybe they didn't. They just fell for the first time, and either they were afraid to never try it again. The parent is going to have to lift them up and get them to try it, because you have to fail. The only way a baby can learn to walk is to fail. They have to fail a few times until they get there. So I love that you said about growth. Yeah, that if you can shift to whatever you guys are going after, whatever you're chasing, and I'm going to use that for myself. The growth, and that's always been something for me. It's a lesson or a blessing. Everything that happens, there's either a lesson in it. If it's hard, if it hurts, there's probably a lesson. If it feels good, it feels exciting, rewarding, it's a blessing.
Well,
But
and even on that line, DJ, the mindset there is, if there was a lesson, that lesson was a blessing, because without
yeah,
that lesson, you probably would never go as far as you're going to now go, because you learned something. So, if you're at maybe right now something in somebody's life is just going completely crooked, this is the most important time for you to do your gratitude journal and say, this is what I'm really thankful for, because I'm learning something right now that's going to make me better, stronger than I would ever be if this wasn't. And so I'm glad it's happening to me. It's a tough mindset shift to make, but it's a really important one. I'm a firm believer there's blessings in everything. Most of the key moments in life that have turned out to be the best things that happened for me at the time were, in some cases, a couple of cases, just horrific. It's like that, you think it's the end of the world, but what it really turned out, it put me on an entirely new path that was much, much better than any path I would have chosen without it.
Isn't it wild how it always seems to go that way? I've failed enough now in my life. Most people are surrounding me, especially back in Ohio. They'll tell you. I've taken a lot of swings and a lot of risk. And so yeah, once you get comfortable in that failure, which we'll talk about, that's my second tip to really breaking through that zone. But we'll go back to
20 or 2 decades of commission sales. That'll teach you a lot about overcoming adversity.
yes, a lot. Number third sign you are in a comfort zone, avoiding new experiences. I think that was never an issue for me. I kind of wanted, I have a struggle of wanting there's not enough new experiences going on, and I kind of overload myself with too many new experiences. But I think at the same time, that's what I notice of if I am in a comfort zone, I am not doing as much or being as extreme as I usually am with kind of taking on all of these things. And then I start to wonder, why, hold on. And I'm not usually doing what all of these things. I'm just in this zone. Is there more I need? And so that's something I always go to, is there more I need? Why does this feel easy? I guess I got so comfortable in the uncomfort. As soon as it feels easy, I'm wondering what's going on. Why is this easy?
Well, it's good that you are aware enough to notice that, okay, I should question this, because again, that's where a lot of us aren't that way. I've been very fortunate with a lot of things. I've been a lot of places. I've done a lot of things. I've experienced a lot of new things. But there's a big part of me that some days was like, man, that a cabin in the woods where it's just me doing nothing is where I want to be. I think I'd be a good hermit. And now that I work from home, it was not that long ago. I it was Friday came along, and um, I started thinking, I was like, I don't even think my truck has left the driveway this week. you know, it was just, I was doing things and I got caught up in it, and I wasn't really stretching myself during that week to do the other things. And so it's really easy to kind of fall into that. And it takes a level of self-awareness to catch yourself when you're there. But I'm with you. I think, I'm all about experiences. When if somebody asks you, tell me the best and favorite place you've ever been, rarely is it the place. It was the people I was with, the things we were doing. It's the experiences, and new experiences are a great way to get you out of your comfort zone.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And then the final really sign for me, and this is a big one that I know right away that I'm in my comfort zone, is feeling bored. If you're feeling bored, it's just the routine. Kind of Steve Harvey talked about it. This is the place that I go all the time. This is what I do here. This is what I do here. And everything just seems like it is just constantly the same. Uh, that is I know, okay, I'm in the comfort zone again. I need to break out. This is way too easy, I get feeling bored. Feeling bored is my first sign that, okay, am I enjoying this anymore? Is this what I need to be doing? Is this fulfilling me enough, or do I need more? And so yeah, it's that comfort.
Yeah, the I can actually track some of that on the watch these days, because it's telling me stress levels and different things like that. And if I get through the end of the week and it's like, very, yeah, my entire stress, low, medium, high, if it's all at low, I'm like, man, I didn't really challenge myself very good though of the week. And so part of fighting the boredom part of this is each and every day. The last thing we should do for the day is just go back and reflect on what that day was. What did I do? And then what should I not ever do again? What should I do more of? And what should I do completely different? And just spend a few minutes in time reflecting on that. And then the challenge is getting up the next day and being that 1/10 of 1% better than you were the day before. And that'll help get over the boredom, because you're constantly, again, you're focused on growth all the time, each and every day.
Yes. So I want to go back to your clients. Some of the clients you're working with breaking out of their comfort zone. What are some of the signs? What now that we talked about certain signs of comfort zone, were there certain any one of those signs that they were, or you were noticing they were stuck in, and how did you advise them, or how are they working through that to break out of those zones?
So it will show up in different ways depending on where they are in their life and their business and other things that are going on. If it's somebody that I'm working with that's been doing something for a while, a lot of times you'll see it, and they've just lost their passion. They're talking about burnout and things like that, and they've just kind of gotten into a routine that's not working for them anymore. And so if and a lot of folks, one of the main things that any coach will work with anyone on is time, because it is so difficult to manage ourselves within the time we're given. And so this one comes up a lot. It just feels like the weight of the world is there. They're not expressing happiness when they're telling me about their life and their business. They're just kind of it's the Jimmy Carter word that he used back in the 80s was malaise. It kind of feels like a malaise has taken over. That tells me that I need to be something bold here and help them break out of this comfort zone. Another way you can kind of see it with someone who is new, as they're starting their business, and they, especially in franchising, it's a little bit easier in franchising because there is a system to follow, and you'll get people who come in and nobody ever follows the system 100%. So I mean, if we won't follow God's orders 100%, why are we going to follow a franchise orders, right? So nobody follows 100%. However, the ones that come in and follow it the most are the ones that are the most successful. However, you'll see some that come in and immediately they're not running the company system, they're running DJ system, and they haven't changed anything. Well, that's somebody that's in the comfort zone of just doing what they've always done without realizing obviously they're going to get what they've always got, and they're just throwing their money away because they're not utilizing the systems that are there. So it can manifest differently in different people depending on the stage of life where they're at. And you nailed several of them when you just described your experience.
Thank you. This has been great. So I want to throw this up there real quick because you did touch on this, and I wanted to go back to this a little bit. Organizations, so Laura, thank you for the comment, but organizations that are highly profitable still believe they're okay. They leave much to be desired. You need to call out the BS.
Yeah, I wish I had my whiteboard behind me because I could give you a graph on this one that would really bring it home. But that's a really good point. And success is not always a very good teacher, because when you get successful, you do hit a comfort zone, whether it's a business or a personal life. You're like, man, I'm pretty happy. Maybe it's a level of income, because everybody is rich at a different level of income, depending on when they get kind of comfortable and they start trying to get more or stop trying to get more. And so with companies, it's really dangerous because there's three phases of any company. There's that startup learning phase, there's the growth phase, and then there's an inevitable decline phase unless they do something different and challenge what they've done to that point. You've seen businesses that were too big to fail that absolutely failed, whether we want to talk Sears or Blockbuster or a lot of the examples that are out there. It was for that very reason. They got comfortable with what they were doing. They stopped taking the risk, the threats that were out there seriously, and they refused to change. And so if your organization, if you're starting to say things like, our numbers are starting to level out, and your answers are, well, you remember 5 years ago we tried this and it worked pretty good. What if we try that again? You're probably in trouble, because you're in that trap of thinking
you're going backwards. You're looking in the rear view.
Yeah, because everything around you has changed. And so this is where getting out of the business comfort zone is really important, because if you want that growth phase doesn't last forever unless you create a new growth phase with something that you've changed. And so constantly challenging what we're doing to make sure that we're the best we can possibly be.
When you were on the call, I believe, but with John, I mean, this was number one of the 7 problems or mistakes CEOs make is not challenging the status quo. They're not challenging and adapting to, and really in the end, it's listening to your customers. You have to have a pulse always on the. You can't, if you're not the front face of your company, then you need to have a really strong pulse on your front facing, who is facing your customers. You need to know what they're feeling, what they're hearing, what they're listening, what they're doing. But if you're way up here in your ivory tower and not coming down to know what's going on and really just being aware of all levels of your business and your customer experience and what the feedback is from your customers directly to your clients, to your front team. I mean, it's kind of like going to war, and you're the general in the back. You send your front line out, and you don't know what they're battling or defeating your front line with. You're just and then now you wait until they get right in front of your face, and you're like, hold on, what happened? How'd they get here? Well, that's how they got here. You weren't really thinking enough or being involved enough on the team. I think, and that's just another probably subject for another time. But that's leadership, and that is we're really going to hone in on. It's a driving thing to me. Leadership drives all. I mean, everything's belief in your company, in your dream. All starts with leadership. It all starts at the top.
I've got to start dressing better. You can point to belief. I can point to barbecue.
Hey, I believe in barbecue too. It's just your barbecue. I heard it's really good. I still have to try it though.
The idea that you said there about staying in touch with the frontline people, I mean that really is important. I didn't mean for that barbecue comment to make light of it. Because that really is important, and it's one of the key things that make franchising as successful as it is. Because a franchisee is more likely to succeed than someone that goes out on their own. But the reason it can be more successful is you've got a group of franchisees in different markets that are trying different things, and then reporting back to the franchisor what they're seeing. And so the very good franchisors, one of the questions, if you're investigating, that you want to find out when you're talking to the other franchisees that are already in the system, is what is that relationship with your franchisor like? Because through the years, some of the greatest things that have ever been invented, including things like the Big Mac, they came from a franchisee in a local McDonald's, not from McDonald's corporate. And so when you're asking those questions, find out what is the relationship between the two, because a good franchisor is going to be listening and implementing what you see on the front line, because you do have a much different perspective than what they have at the corporate support center.
Always. How can you not? I mean, how can you not? When
that was Debbie Higgins. If any, most of my clothing in my closet comes from impressions and print. So, hey, Debbie, I appreciate all the years of clothing you provided for me. She did give me this one, so she can do my barbecue, but
she's not guilty for the barbecue shirt.
Not guilty for this silly shirt I'm wearing today.
That's not silly. I love it. So we're getting close to kind of getting toward the second half. So I do want to get into kind of my tips, or at least what I go to if I feel like I'm stuck in the comfort zone. So I am, like I shared, and anybody who knows me, Simon, shout out to Simon Sinek. I'm an optimist. If you ask me what I do, I'm going to say what he says. I'm not going to tell you I'm a coach or a business owner or anything. I'm an optimist. That is what I am. That is what I will always be. So I dream really big and really crazy. That's why one of my 3 non-negotiables, number 3, is grand ambitions. If you think I look crazy and I have a horn growing out of my head because of my crazy ideas, we're probably not going to work together too well, because I know I'm crazy. But starting small, I like to go really big and go all in and force myself. And I thought that would always work for me. It doesn't, and it didn't. So it's really was starting small. What little habit, what little thing can I do? So health. I struggled with weight forever, for a long, long time. I'm a super simple person though, so I needed simple. The new diets I've done every diet you could possibly think of, from P90X, Insanity, you name, Advocate, name it, I've done it. I've tried it. Maybe 4 different times in my life, I've been at a max of 255 pounds. Comfort zones. Those are definitely comfort zones. I'll tell you that. But also, it was small things. When I would do those diets, when I would do those things, it was all in. I would force myself to go extreme, and it was really hard. And so it was knowing these small things. What small can I do now? And I think it was a video again that I seen, and it was even just the small little habits. So he was sharing about, if you want to make a habit of going to the gym, well, maybe you don't go to the gym for a half hour, but the first key for me was prepping my bag, having a bag ready the day before. So I wake up and I'm ready to go. So now there's no, well, now I gotta, what do I want to wear? What do I need? I'm looking for stuff and more excuses, and I want to back out. Then it was, okay. Then the thing that he shared that I never did, but I understand the power in it, was even just going to the gym and for 5 minutes or even a minute, and then you just leave. Maybe it's just a simple, maybe you're not doing a whole 30-minute hour workout, anything like that. It's just building those little habits, but starting small. I think you need to start small. So my advice, tip number 1, breaking out of the comfort zone, start small.
Yeah, the book you're referencing there is Atomic Habits by James Clear. One
There
of my
it is.
favorites is actually sitting
There
right
it
back
is.
over there.
Yep.
I do group classes that are kind of based around the topics in that book, so I'm a fan. But I think that's important, and one of the reasons is important is you just get used to taking that first step. And Martin Luther King, he said, sometimes you have to take the first step. You don't know what's on the other side, but you have to take the first step in order for the second step to appear. And so it's not just about building habits of necessarily working out. It's just about building that habit of acting, of doing something. So what you'll find is, if you do take those first steps and you do go to the gym for the 5 minutes, whether you do a lot of working out or not, as soon as you start getting more discipline in that part of your life, you'll start to see the signs of becoming more disciplined in other parts of life too. There's a compound effect that happens from those little steps that you're talking about. And those little steps are so important. They're so important because you're doing something. And when you are in that comfort zone, like I can't imagine you at 250 living in a comfort zone. That's just amazing to say that.
Yeah.
But when you were in that comfort zone, I'll guarantee you were living life as someone who were looking at it as helpless. Well, there's really nothing more I can do about this. I'm of this age. I've got this reason. I've got all these excuses. I can blame everything but myself, and all these different things. And the only way we break out of that cycle is to do something.
Yes. Yes. Number 2 tip: breaking out of the comfort zone, embrace failure. Being a master at failure, I've probably figured out 1,000 different ways of everything you could possibly think of not to do it before I figured out the right way. So I like jumping all in. Steve Harvey gives a great example of your parachute isn't going to open until you jump. You have to jump. You're going to take some bumps, you're going to take some bruises, but eventually your parachute will open. And your parachute is the gift from God, is what he's talking about. But uh, it I am a just jump. I've been since the fear and kind of that alter ego of the scared kid that I was, and now it's now I've failed at everything. Now I just jump. Okay, hey, this looks fun. Let's try there. Jump. And so embracing failure, that is something that it really I don't know how it became easy, so I really can't give advice for that. But it is easier for me now to fail than anything else. Failure to me is just okay. Well, that's not how to do that. Let's try this. And so it's just a lesson to me. So any failure to me is just, in my mind, it's just a lesson. Oh, well, that didn't work. What do I try now?
Yes, and this one, man, if I was going to tell you of all the things that you've been talking about here, the one that I still have to work on myself the most, this is probably the one I have to work on myself the most, is just getting over the fear of failure. I don't like being wrong for whatever reason. I don't like people seeing me mess up for whatever reason. I have this just ingrained in my, I'll call our what we have in our subconscious that kind of drives everything. I call it your BS. It's your belief system. But I've got this somehow aversion to failure. And so what John Maxwell challenged in his book, Developing the Leader Within You 2.0, is pick something this week that you know you're going to fail and go out and do it. And so I mentioned that earlier. I'll go back to that again. What I do now is sometimes I'll just pick things that I know this probably ain't going to end well, but I've got to get out and do it and get a result that I can track and build from that. And once you do it a few times, it does get easier. But I'm not going to say it ever gets real easy, because if you have this like I do inside of me, that's one of my saboteurs that I fight with on a regular basis.
So Dan Millman wrote, I think I forget what the book is, but amazing guy. He shared, and he talks a lot about John Maxwell as well. But he shared one thing he does is he always pushes himself out of his comfort zone, and so he always tries to learn something new. So he, even at the age of 65, or however, I mean, he's an amazing, like this. I think the guy, you have to check out his videos. Unbelievable story, unbelievable guy. But he at 60 some years old wanted to challenge himself, so he learned to unicycle. Never did it before. He's like, this is going to be difficult. I'm going to push myself. This is going to be and challenge himself. But he then, every day, he said the way he did it was he started in a tennis court, held the fence and a few pedals, and then a few pedals, and then eventually, he learned it. But everything we want to nothing we do at first will ever be easy. It's always going to be hard. There's always going to be mistakes. I want to bring up my wife, because she had a great post the other day, and she said this. So, what's the phase of getting your wife on board of all the uncomfort? Do you start from the first date? Do you wait until she's in love? 15 years later, I'm finally comfortable with the uncomfort. And so she shared, and you said being uncomfortable with embracing failure, and she shared a great post yesterday that I think is where some people, and that's where I believe at least I got comfortable with it. Once you kind of, I guess, in your mind place it or feel like enough people have placed a label on you that you're a failure, it's just easy to like, oh, well, yeah, I just failed again. Oh, well. But if you like my wife, really good at sports, Maggie was unbelievable. And she shared the story, but tore her ACL. And she was, I mean, just unbelievable in basketball and softball. And she was going to go play softball in college, tore ACL, senior night. That was it. Now, if thankful and thanking God for, we probably wouldn't have met. Our paths would have never crossed if that didn't happen. So I'm sorry, but I'm kind of glad it happened. Um, it led this, but she did struggle with, and she shared that. So if you're not used to failing, if you're not used to losing, if as a kid you were always winning, you were always on top, you always got good grades, you never really did anything to push against the comfort to even feel that failure, it's hard to face it if you've never really pushed yourself out of what you're good at. And that's one thing that I'm so proud of her. But yeah, that's one thing she
Well,
really said. Ben,
you just hit, man, maybe this is the grumpy old man coming out in me, but I think you just hit on one of the big societal problems we're facing today. Uh, our parents are these helicopter parents that aren't letting their kids experience any falls or failures or anything in life when they get to the real world, and the real world says this is what real world really is like. They fold.
yeah,
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's if you haven't, success is not the best teacher. We have to learn from the failures and mistakes that we have. Now, it has been said, and goes back to franchising, since that's kind of where we take everything back to. But
yeah,
the saying is, a smart person learns from their mistakes. A wise person learns from the mistakes of others. So there are ways we can limit the mistakes we have to make, but that is an intentional effort that we take to learn from the mistakes of others, and that's surrounding yourself with perhaps a better set of people to become your inner circle than what you have now. You will become the average of the 5 people with whom you spend the most time. Pick them wisely.
amen. Practice OQP. Les Brown says it. OQP, only quality people.
Yep. 100%.
Number three, final tip to breaking out of the comfort zone. Visualize your success. When I understood or kind of bought into, really, it was meditation. Meditation kind of opened the door for me. And I was one of those that meditation sounded woo woo, sounded, what do you mean meditation? Okay, how am I gonna? You picture this something else, but really, what I will explain to anybody, the power for meditation to me was controlling this. That is really what meditation is in the end. It's telling and taking control over your mind to tell yourself and your body and your natural reaction that you're gonna sit there. You're gonna sit there and not. You're gonna, even though you feel this discomfort of, oh man, I should be doing something else. Oh gosh, I have to check my email. Oh my God, this could be happening. Oh no, and all of these things are going inside of you. You have to, and once you can master that and mastering by visualizing that, hey, sit, like no matter what, you just need to sit. You're telling your body to sit there. Then as those thoughts come in, they come in. But then you just have to refocus, and it really just teaches you to be mindful in the end. And it's just visualizing, being mindful and intentional. It has a lot to do with visualization to me. If you're intentional with everything that you do, and it's because you're visualizing ahead of time. You're planning it out. Okay, well, if I do this, and so that's meditation for me is a lot of uh, conversation through next steps sometimes, and I'll let it go there. Even in meditation, and like, okay, well, if I do this and I say this, or if I do this and this happens, what could they say, and how does this play out? And it's playing out in my head, and I'm visualizing though. Okay, that's probably not a good way, and so it's almost like having a talk with yourself. Um, And that's what I think they meant by prayer. That's what they mean by, any different religion or thing that they share of praying. You have to pray. Oh, God's going to talk to you. Uh, it's you. You have an inner voice. You have an inside. You have your inner child. We all have it. There's a program that's playing in each one of us that is telling us all of those things that Stacey talked about. What we learned, what we've seen from our environment, from growing up to the age of 7, and it's just there. And again, I've said this on, I think, other episodes, but the movie Click, I think they do a great. They show it very well in a obviously humor way, but it is what we do. When we're allowing that program to play, when we're stuck doing the same thing, we're just like Adam Sandler was, fast forwarding, and we're just we're a zombie like he was. In the movie, he's seeing Morty, which if you guys haven't seen this movie or you've seen it a long time ago, you can watch it. Christopher Walken is hilarious in it, but so he sees Morty, and he says, "My wife said about dinner with or something with my parents. What is he talking about?" And so then he goes back to the part where he's just in that program playing, that mode, and just auto response, and he's just yes, and he just answers, but he's not even fully there. He's not aware. He's not visualizing. He's not focused on where he's going next. He's in fast forward. He's in that program. And so I think once we can control this, and that's where meditation for me and visualizing uh, allowed me to take control of that, to say, no, you're not going to do this. You're going to sit here right now. We got an hour, and that's every morning. I wake up, gratitude list. I write 4 things every day. They're always different. Well, not always different. So it's always number 1 and 2 is always Maggie and my kids, and 3 and 4 are always different. Number 5 is always fresh, fresh 24. I'm always grateful for just waking up. Second thing I always do, taught my kids start to do this now, and I'm so glad. My son Cooper, shout out Coop, but making your bed. Seen the report. I'm sure people have heard the story. You've probably seen it. He's done a few speeches. He wrote a book about first thing you do is making your bed. Military, they teach that, and the benefits and the quality of that. As soon as I heard that, it was like, okay, if I can just constantly do this, I'm starting off by knowing that I made a rule that I'm going to do this, and I'm sticking to it. So I'm beating myself always, because I think self-trust is the first key to success, and self-trust is us saying we're going to do something and then actually doing it. But if we keep letting ourselves off the hook, uh, there's nobody to hold us accountable, and eventually we just keep failing. And so that making that bed was that huge kind of, if I do this every day, okay, well, at least
Start the day with a win. At least I won that one.
that's it. And so, yeah. Hey, Coach, if you want to take us out, I'm going to throw some of these comments up. There's so many great comments.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us. And
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. But yeah, so back to visualization just for a second here.
sorry, yeah.
I think it really is incredibly powerful, and our brains are such that they can't really distinguish real from imagination. And so with enough imagination, you can make a significant change in your life. And in the book Psycho-Cybernetics, Maxwell Maltz gets into it. He calls it the playhouse of the mind. But he was a plastic surgeon, and he was kind of digging into why do some folks, when the change happens, why do they really respond and have a much better life, and why do others not respond and really don't get any benefit from what they've done? And what it came down to is they just couldn't see themselves other than the way they had always seen themselves. And so one of the things that's so powerful about visualization is the fact that you'll never be able to outperform your own self image, your own self ego, the way you see yourself. And so by visualizing yourself as that person that you are becoming, so we know that this is the ideal story of me for the next 5 years. This is who I want to become. We have to spend time just visualizing ourselves as that person. And that way you got to train the subconscious to say, this is who I really am. And then it's amazing, but at some point you'll quit faking it, and you'll just start becoming and acting like that person that you're visualizing yourself as. So it's a very important time of your day to visualize that ideal picture of who you are going to become.
Steve Harvey says it, but I think it was a quote from Steve. But visualization is God's preview of coming attractions. It's or not visualization, imagination. Imagination is a preview of God's coming attractions, and God gives us that gift of imagination so we can kind of paint those pictures. We start the show with one heartbeat. Make it a masterpiece. Do you want it to be a masterpiece, or do you? Where is your masterpiece? What does your masterpiece look like? That's really with your imagination, and that's I was blessed with. I was able to. I'm a big kid. I feel like a big kid. I was blessed to, I guess, be surrounded by parents and surrounded by people that let me dream enough. But I'm a big kid. I'm a dreamer. My imagination. I have crazy ideas of crazy things that I don't even know where they come from sometimes. But the imagination is something that I feel like the world beats it out of us as kids. Kids can come up
It
with the
really does.
craziest
Yeah,
ideas.
it really does.
They can anything is something, and they're really in their mind. They believe it. They believe it. But then the world and everybody is no. That's not you. No, you can't do it. No, no, you do this. And it's just a constant beating of you. Don't let it beat you. So I guess if anything, don't let the outside practice OQP. Find those people that if you are a big dreamer, if you are your imagination is wild and you just want to chase the world, surround yourself with those people and light the world on fire. We get one heartbeat. And it really is just a small minority of people who have big dreams that can change the world. And I think that's where we're at right now. I think that's where the circle of life and the kind of the trends and uh, it all kind of leads us to. I think that's the quote in the end. But thank you all, Coach. This was awesome, and
Yeah,
this
this
is
was
this
fun.
is a
This
fun
was
show.
fun.
So I want to give a shout out. So next week we do have on Tuesday have Enrique Medina from ATEX. We're going to be highlighting another one of our loyalty brands. Obviously, Coach Stacey, you know a lot about the tax world, so we'll get a deep dive into to that and just talk about the differences and what we're trying to do here at ATEX with loyalty brands. What sets us apart? Some of the obviously you guys could be able to go back and forth with some John Hewitt ideas and thoughts. And really just we'll deep dive into that. So Tuesday, y'all, we don't have a time set. Coach Stacey will be at an event, so we are trying to fine tune that. But again, this shows you he's a wanted man. So you guys are getting some advantage of really just getting this advice. So soak it in. He's done amazing things. He's worked with amazing companies, and um, he we really do just want to help you break through and break out of that comfort zone. So again, shout out to Korin and Zoomin Groomin. I'll throw that up again. Zoomin Groomin, pay attention to this van. If you don't see it in your neighborhood, now you'll see it soon. We are blowing up. It is blowing up everywhere. The convenience industry is a hot market. So if you are looking for franchise to get involved in franchising, you want to start your own business because you're not really sure, you don't have a passion, not really sure where to go, reach out to us. A 15-minute talk, conversation, Zoom call. Either myself, Coach Stacey B, we'll try to get you where your passion is and what might be the right calling for you, at least in this stage or season of your life.
Yeah, we may not have every answer, but we know who does, so we'll point you in the right direction.
Exactly. Uh, Coach, any final thoughts before we go out? Any plans for the weekend? And I am going to share with you. We know now the first question that I'm going to ask guests. Now there is a second question I'm going to ask you when we go out here, before we end the show here. This is a question I'm going to ask every guest before we're going to share from now on. So,
Oh boy, cold question. Yeah, so for the weekend, I'm actually going to spend a little time with my parents tomorrow. Going to go see them ahead of time for Mother's Day, have a little early lunch and some time with them. And then Sunday, flying out to Dallas. Got the big event all next week, Tax Growth Con 2023. Tickets still available. Look it up. It's all for tax and accounting industry, how to scale and build a business, and lots of great speakers. Coach Bird and Marshall Seiler and Mark Kohler and David Perez and myself and Darren Branch, a few other folks that are going to be there. So it's going to be a couple of action-packed days next week that we're all in Dallas together. So that's kind of where my next few days are headed.
Oh, that's exciting. Well, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. You guys are really who keep the home team together. So remember that.
And so tomorrow I am going to be eating barbecue with my mom. So that was one of the things that was on my mind today.
Yes. What is your go-to? Is there a certain meat or certain that you go to? And what is your mom's favorite?
Well, from Eastern North Carolina, it's always pork barbecue because that is barbecue.
Okay.
Yeah. Beef brisket is brisket, ribs are ribs.
Yeah.
Barbecue is chopped, minced, or pulled pork.
I love it. I think that was a shot at Kansas City a little bit because they like the beef out there. Am I right?
I love Kansas City and Texas smoked meat, but that's not barbecue. Barbecue is chopped, sliced, pulled, or minced pork.
Oh no! Please, no barbecue people come after us. I'm sorry for that. No. So the last question to take us out, and this is going to be a question that I am going to share with future guests. So, Enrique, if you are listening, you better be ready for this question. So, Coach, a question I've seen on a video. Actually, I believe it was a TikTok. I write it everywhere. It's on my computer at home on the screen. It's something that it just drives me. I think I even have it on my LinkedIn, or I did. But how big would you dream if you knew you couldn't fail?
Yeah, I love that. And what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Obviously, if we all knew we couldn't fail, there'd be no limit to what we would dream and the things that we would do. And that's the way that I've tried to live my life. I feel like it was Wayne Dyer I heard say maybe the first time that, what would you do if you couldn't fail? But man, I try my best to live by that, and I try my best to fail forward. That's another one of my Maxwell favorite books. Be willing to fail, but fail forward. You're going to learn, you're going to grow, you're going to try again. And tomorrow I'm going to wake up, I'm going to be better than I was today because of it.
Fail faster, fail forward. Les Brown says it. As long as you can look up, you can get up. So get up and just keep going.
Stay hungry.
Stay hungry. So again, everybody, thank you all. This was amazing. Happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. Tuesday, don't miss us. We will have the event out shortly. Again, like and subscribe. If you did find anything of value, reach out to Coach Stacey B if you are looking for that advice and help. And until next time, remember, everybody, keep feeding the good wolf.
I'm always on the red eye. This time around, it's not even about getting paid. I'm just